Chargeblade was one of the feature weapons of Monster Hunter 4U, right next to the Insect Glaive. It was marketed as a weapon that could do it all. Sword and Shield mode allows you to guard, perform quick combos, all while having solid mobility. Axe mode was slow yet powerful, allowing you to perform double chops and the SAED. In practice, the Chargeblade had the combo speed of Sword and Shield, the defense of Lance, and the power of Greatsword all wrapped into one weapon. However, the topic of this video is how it got nerfed in Monster Hunter 4U moving into Monster Hunter GU. We will be looking into why it got nerfed, how Capcom reworked the weapon, and how it became the current version of Chargeblade we know today. Let's get into it. Chargeblade was associated with the risk and reward of the SAED. It was your strongest move with a few debilitating drawbacks. First, it was a long animation that made it unsafe unless there was an opening. You could get hit on the windup or the recovery from axe mode if you didn't knock the monster down. Second, it consumed your shield charge and files, regardless of whether you landed it or got hit out of it. A landed SAED would result in a massive amount of damage being inflicted on the monster. A missed SAED would result in the massive damage fizzling into the void. Now you could use the safer option of a cancelled AED, which consumes one file, keeps your shield charge, and has a quicker animation, but you output less damage for the single chop. This means that at all times, you had to deal with the riskier yet high reward SAED or the safer yet lower reward AED. However, time attackers had shown that the risk and reward weren't that vital for Chargeblade because you could use the AED on the head to stun the monster and then pop an SAED on the body while it's down for the guaranteed damage. The obnoxious thing is that you can stack red energy over your files, spam AEDs and fish for the KO until you get it, then you load up your files to drop your full power SAEDs on the prone monster. This line of play eliminated the risk of Chargeblade since you stayed in Sword and Shield mode and guard pointed while spamming the AED until the monster was down. Then you reap the rewards of a guaranteed SAED. This AED into SAED playstyle provided little risk, all reward. This warranted a rework of Chargeblade moving forward into Monster Hunter GU because both the damage and confirmation of that damage were far too high and consistent to remain as is. As an attempt to balance the Chargeblade, Capcom nuked the meta playstyle of AED into SAD spam in the guise of a rework moving into Monster Hunter GU. The basic Sword and Shield moveset was untouched. Most of the inputs affected related the guard points and axe mode. You lost the ability to shortcut into the SAD from a shield thrust and guard point. In fact, the guard point was now just glorified super armor tied behind guarding ability. Your animations continued with protected frames, and they no longer cancelled into a guarding stance. Since the shield thrust SAD shortcut was removed, you could only load files into shield via the round slash, but it was always going to be yellow shield charge from Sword and Shield mode. The only way to get red shield is to load files into shield from axe mode. Files loaded from Sword and Shield provided 20 seconds per file instead of axe mode's 30 seconds. The shield charge boost applied the Monster Hunter 4U multiplier to only striker style, while the rest of the styles got the lower modifier of 1.15. The SAD was changed from being a 5-line shockwave into a single explosion. You could no longer shotgun the monster, your axe had to make contact with the monster to land the explosion. And the SAD file motion values were half of what they were in Monster Hunter 4U. It was a high effort move with low to middling results. It made it actually punishing to use an SAD instead of cancelling into the AED. By disrupting its core flow and its best moves, Capcom had made the weapon worse without a substantial replacement. It's why every one of these changes were reverted in the 5th Fleet. There is a silver lining. The good parts of Monster Hunter GU were tied entirely to the styles and hunter arts. Styles introduced the idea of Chargeblade having multiple modes of play. As a weapon that can do it all, it had dedicated builds for each playstyle. Striker / Guild / Alchemy played with the core kit of Monster Hunter GU Chargeblade while spamming the hunter arts. You had at least 2 arts to mess around with, so you could make use of Energy Blade and Ripper Shield on all 3 of these styles. Absolute Readiness was run for sharpness maintenance and safety. These playstyles benefited the most from guard investment since that was their only source of defense. Aerial style dedicated itself to spamming aerial AEDs to head snipe the monster and get mounts. The skill ceiling was increased further by mastering the invincibility window attached to the vault, so you could leap off of Glavenus's tail spins, and then drop an AED on its head. Adept style provided the parry on your guard and the guard point on your charge slash to make the sword and shield mode safer. The parry is a shortcut that loads files from sword and shield mode for red shield charge or an instant charge double slash. Axe mode gained the adept evade to reposition your double chops to the head and provide safety while in axe mode. Valor style focused on filling your valor gauge to get the blue shield and receive some effects. Your shield charge was active as long as the bar was red. You did not lose it after popping an SAED. Your evade became a demon dash evade with sword and shields version gaining a guard point. Your double chop comboed into a triple chop which then looped back into the double chop. Lastly, the Valor evade sheathed your weapon while scooting you backwards at the cost of taking reduced damage, allowing you to skip your charge blade sheath animation and synergize with the new skill Führer through consistent red health. As for Hunter arts, there were 4 Hunter arts in the form of Limit Breaker, Energy Blade, Healing Files, and Ripper Shield. Healing Files allowed you to AoE heal your teammates by loading files into shield. It was not widely used because it prevented you from gaining red shield charge if the art was still active and your shield charge ran out during that time. Limit Breaker doubled your file count and it synergized with load shells because red energy loaded up your 10 files. It was used as a setup with Energy Blade and SAED spam to output maximum damage for both moves. Energy Blade is a powerful stand-in for the SAED that consumed your files to create a lightsaber whose length and damage were based on file count. It did not consume your red shield charge, making it as strong as 4U's SAED on a cooldown. Lastly, your shield turned into a buzzsaw to generate red energy to then combo into your double chop or load files into shield. The only boon was that it burned through sharpness, requiring the use of weapons like Rust Razor Charge Blade or skills like Razor Sharp for sharpness longevity. Ripper Shield and Energy Blade made up for the lacking power of Charge Blade's base kit with high damage moves and good utility. That leaves the question, how did Monster Hunter GU affect Worldborne and Risebreak's versions of Charge Blade? In 5th Fleet, Capcom reverted Charge Blade back to what it was in Monster Hunter 4U with a few notable buffs. But the Monster Hunter team is notorious for reusing assets because the ideas may not be executed perfectly the first time around, but give each idea a tweak and it can become a good design. The first change was a reflection of this idea, the permanent addition of Valor style shield charge being turned into red shield charge. Starting with Worldborne, your red shield charge now remains after an SAED, just like Valor style, and it removed the yellow shield charge as a mechanic, just like Valor style. Prior to the perma shield buff, AEDs were prominent because they were safer to use and they didn't consume your shield charge and all of your files. The SAD was only used for openings because it consumed everything, making the recovery of your buffs and files either a walk of shame for missing or a dopamine rush to hurt the monster more while it's down. Without that difference, it made the SAD more practical to use in every situation. You never wanted to go for an AED unless you were going to whiff your SAD or get decked for a poorly timed one. The Perma Shield buff shifted the careful and targeted playstyle of the AED to the risky shockwave spamming SAD playstyle, bringing it back to the risk-reward design philosophy highlighted in Monster Hunter 4U. The second change was combining the Monster Hunter GU double chop playstyle with Ripper Shield. This gave birth to the Savage Axe and later Condensed Spinning Slash. The focus was to spam your spinning chops in place of SADs. The quicker, wide-sweeping animation made it easier to land hits, and it was a safer option against faster monsters, allowing you to weave in and out of your damage mode during openings. The addition of Axe Ticks doubled the damage of your Axe Chops, giving you every incentive to bolster your cutting damage and critical damage. A contrast to SAED builds focusing everything on file damage. The SAED was not optimal for this playstyle because it broke the flow of your 5 ED2s and 5 upswings by forcing you to morph to Sword and Shield and then morph back. by the time you recovered from the SAED, you would have done more damage from buzzsawing away at the monster instead. You mainly popped an SAED as a combo finisher as the monster got up from a topple. By making the axe chops a good move, Savage Axe and CSS solidified a second identity for Charge Blade that was just as viable as the Sword and Shield centric SAED spam playstyle. They acted as counterparts for the Charge Blade, providing better matchup coverage and build variety. Savage Axe benefited greatly from the axe ticks and multi-hits, allowing Element File to finally become a meta contender in Worldborne and later in Risebreak. The third set of changes were reworks of Adept Evade, Ripper Shield, and Aerial Style into Risebreak. Morphing Advance was the reworked version of the Adept Evade because it lets you reposition and perform a double chop all in one motion. Morphing Advance moved you out of range of an attack rather than bulldozing you through it with the invincible evade window. You had to use it before a move came out, not in reaction to it. Also allowed you to input an SAD and gave you a greater swivel angle for greater control. Basically, Morphing Advance was the upgraded version of the Adept Evade with upgraded options. Ripper Shield's buzzsaw effect was carried over to Savage Axe, but the instant foul reload effect and accompanying follow-up options were applied to counter peak performance. They shared the effect of getting full files and had follow-ups to flow into the bread and butter Charge Blade moveset. Both could load files into shield and both moves locked you in place until the animation was done. However, Ripper Shield had a shortcut straight into the ED1 and 2, while Counter Peak activated Condensed Slashes, morphed to Axe, or comboed straight into an SAED. The options may differ, but Counter Peak updated the Ripper Shield combos to match the inputs of the 5th fleet. Lastly, Axe Hopper is just Monster Hunter GU's aerial style as a move. You remove the aerial style vault and allow the user to perform a vault on command at the cost of a wire bug instead. The aerial inputs are identical. You can angle your chops, AEDs, and morph mid-air using both moves. The main difference between them is getting the mount versus the ride. Aerial style was safer because the vault provided invincibility on the launch, while Axe Hopper required you to avoid damage whilst in the air. The last change was the altering of load shell / capacity boost. In the mainline games, it provides a 6 file. In the portable games, starting with Monster Hunter GU, it provides the 5 files on yellow energy and 10 files on red energy. The 6th file provides a longer red shield charge, more files for SADs, and you could spend more time in Axe mode before having to reload. The 5 files on yellow energy effect optimize the Sword and Shield combo to any Sword and Shield attack and a charge slash. While both iterations of the skill were mandatory on respective metasets, they served different functions. The former was a functional damage boost to all aspects of your bread and butter moves and buffs, while the latter sped up your combo so you could return to your damage mode faster. It was designed to maximize your damage uptime versus minimizing your maintenance downtime. They are both good iterations with differing approaches, but it would be a missed opportunity to consolidate the two versions into a single 2-point skill moving into Monster Hunter Wilds. The first level could provide the 6 file effect, and the second level could provide the full files on yellow energy effect. There are a few changes that affected the viability of Element File, but those changes were not made for Charge Blade specifically, but for Element in general. Think Valstrak's weapon serving as a benchmark of a good Element weapon, and more Element skills being added to the game. Also, I discussed a majority of these changes in a separate video, linked down below. Charge Blade had finally settled on its 2 identities in the 5th fleet, and I hope it remains like that moving into Monster Hunter Wilds. Like if this video was useful to you, consider subscribing if you want to see more discussions like this. That's all I got for this one. Greedy Knight, signing out.